That's way more natural.
What?
Sat there like this. Yeah, that's way more natural. So as you can probably tell, this is a little bit. Are you recording on that camera as well?
I am, yes, recording.
So this is a little bit of an experiment. We're kind of experimenting with the setup and stuff. This is Cam, by the way.
Hey guys.
You build funnels, yeah?
Really good.
So yeah, the sound is echoing. We're looking at different cameras and stuff. We're just kind of testing it. We wanted to shoot it, and we figured we'd pick a really easy topic, just top 5 digital marketing tools.
Yeah, digital marketing from a funnels perspective, or general like branding, like entire online business kind of tools.
All right. Well, then let's look at it like that. How about the tools that you find yourself most commonly using? Because I know that I wouldn't consider Canva, for example, a funnel tool, but I know that I use it all the time with my customers and myself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So the most common ones you're using.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the top software.
Top software, yeah. Apps. They can be free on your phone or whatever. I know what I use. You and I talk about this all the time. We're constantly like, let's do a video. And you're going off on a cruise, aren't you?
Yeah, off on a cruise this Saturday to build funnels.
That's what you do on cruises.
26 funnels on a cruise.
Most 26.
26 funnels. A lot of them are pre-done, so it's not too bad.
And most people go on cruises to be like, oh, I'm going to get away from it. But your idea of a good time is to build funnels.
Yeah.
You're a sociopath.
Well, gotta love funnels.
Apparently. All right, so let's start. We'll start. I suppose there is a ranking system.
The most common one that I use as building funnels and online courses is got to be ClickFunnels at the moment. I know obviously you and I have spoke about this a lot with regards to do you use it? Do you use a website builder? Do you use a third party like ClickFunnels as a software? And I think we both came to the conclusion that basically having ClickFunnels to create your funnel is awesome to test it. But then once you prove the concept, moving it over to a website, so then it's static and
And all ClickFunnels does is it's become the fastest way of separating out your funnel website. They've said that's what we're going to do really, really well, is give you the ability to build your funnels separate from your website. Because the problem is there are so many plugins and stuff and themes or whatever it is that you use that don't play nicely together. So ClickFunnels is like, well, we're going to do this really, really well. And I think that there's a sweet spot that they fit in that no one else is going to be able to touch. Yeah. I think they've absolutely smashed that particular area. We've noticed that when we want to set funnels up, and I know that some of the guys watch this, they use it. They set it up and they're publishing, and they're really happy with it. But we've just noticed. So on our end, we use Beaver Builders, which is a plugin for WordPress, WordPress websites, and we're now taking the same concepts that ClickFunnels is kind of a double-edged sword because they've shown people how to build it, but they haven't made the technology exclusive, because we now go, well, we should just have a separate website, a separate subdomain for our funnel, and we then use Beaver Builder to build those funnels out, and it's a WordPress plugin.
Do you think it's easier? Is the process, obviously ClickFunnels is very drag and drop, it's very intuitive. I would say it's still probably very marketery.
Yeah.
The way that, for instance, the fonts and the layouts and things like that, it's very, but I guess because it's drag and drop, it has to be. Yeah. And because that's what makes it so simple to use, I guess. One of the downsides, I think, of ClickFunnels, though, is they definitely haven't got their autoresponder right. The affiliate program is very good. We use that for a couple of courses and books and things, and that works well. But the autoresponders, quite frankly, dialogue.
Yeah, I mean,
it's good, but for instance, first mail we sent. Our new list uploaded, 35,000 people. We mailed them, and because we didn't realise that it ran through our server and not their server,
smashed it.
We got blacklisted. Instant blacklist. So take a note, kids.
Yeah. And this is like, again, so my next tool would be MailChimp. Now, MailChimp is always the first go-to. It's like, if you want to start with email marketing, just start with MailChimp.
Yeah.
And so we actually, at the moment, we're using a mixture of Infusionsoft, MailChimp, and ActiveCampaign. We're moving more into ActiveCampaign. The reason I think MailChimp is so important is because when it comes to crafting emails for your newsletter, it is best in class. Nothing touches it at all. The way that it handles sending one type of email is incredible. Its automation process is one of the clunkiest systems in the world. To build an automation flow with MailChimp, you've got to really know how to do it.
Yeah.
It's so unintuitive, it's unbelievable. But combined with just sending one type of email, I've found MailChimp is best. For newsletters, outstanding.
Yeah.
And we're finding Infusionsoft and ActiveCampaign to do our automation really, really well. But we haven't really tested ActiveCampaign a lot. And Infusionsoft is fine, but it's almost impossible to report on. So, I would say MailChimp would be the next tool.
From an autoresponder standpoint, we're using ConvertKit.
Oh, yeah.
And I find it's very easy sequence-wise. You can create great sequence, and the email structure, they only do one email structure. So it's just standard text email, which is really good. So I think it has the benefits. The downside of ConvertKit, I find, is you can only collect first name and email. That's it. That's all. You can't edit the forms. You can't do anything. It's literally first name and email, and that's it. And I think that is probably the downside of ConvertKit, because obviously if you're doing, I don't know, you want to collect phone number or something like that, it just won't allow it.
Can you silo them? So put them in, say, look, I know they downloaded an SEO checklist, or I know they downloaded social media. You can do
so
that.
You can tag them, you can segment them, you can create sequences which allow you to put people through like a certain section, and then if they buy a product, they'll skip, say, the next load of upsell emails and go to the next upsell. So it's clever with regards to the automation. I mean, it's targeted towards bloggers. So that I kind of see why they've only done first name email. However,
custom fields. I would have to have that. I have to have custom fields. Partly because I want my CRM and email system to integrate with my payment system. And I want those to be really closely linked. Which kind of brings me on to my third one, Zapier.
I love Zapier.
Zapier.
Zapier, tomatoes.
It just, whenever there's anyone who's like, I wonder if this will work, I'm like, it'll probably be in. I can probably do this.
And it's so cheap. I mean, $50. The basic, you can get 5 zaps or something for free. And then
5 zaps and like 100 tasks.
And then $15 for the basic plan.
It's insane.
I mean, we do it for webinars. We use it for, like say, forms and integrations and things. Everything. It's so, I love it.
And it's, the thing I found about it as well is that I'm creating, they call them zaps, don't they? Because there's IFTTT, if there's then that, and recipes, which, it's not as advanced.
It's like, if it's 7 a.m., turn my heating on. It's like, that's genius, but not everyone can afford a £250 light bulb. For your 1,700 light bulb house.
But we're finding, like with Zapier, we can do some really, really clever stuff with like every week check for new blog posts and populate that through to our email and stuff. We're big fans of Zapier. That's number 3 for me.
With like scheduling and things, I think a good one for me being based around like especially social media, it's got to be Hootsuite. It's got to be up there with one of my top 5. For scheduling on, pretty much any platform that you use. I would say we've used a couple of the other ones, and there are many others out there. And I think a lot of it comes down to, I always kind of like, it's such a marketer's answer, but test everything. And it depends. They're probably the 2 words that come out of my mouth.
Everything is with an asterisk and then citation needed.
And I mean, but that's the same with everything. Like, you've got to test stuff, you've got to try different things. And I mean, same with autoresponders. When I first got started, it was usually it was MailChimp wasn't quite there when I got started, but Aweber and GetResponse were they were the two top or beginner autoresponders. They basically did exactly the same thing, but I loved Aweber and I hated GetResponse. And it was purely because of the user experience from my standpoint. Whereas I know people that were like, I hate Aweber, GetResponse is awesome. And that's why I think it depends. Fits in so many situations, and with scheduling things, there's the Sprout Social. That's probably the most advanced one. Not Sprout Social. What's it called?
Sprout.
Sprout.
The only problem with Sprout, and it staggers me, because their reporting is fine, it's brilliant, blah blah blah. They have no way to be able to bulk upload messages.
Oh really?
You can't upload a CSV of messages.
Oh wow.
Absolutely, it blows my mind. And they say, no, that's not on the roadmap, we've got no plan. Because we use Postcron for ours.
Right.
Which Postcron is crazy basic, but it's allowed us to kind of train our staff and VAs and stuff on how to use it. And why else was it? I think at the time, we moved away from Postcron a couple of years ago. Moved away from Hootsuite to Postcron a couple of years ago. Because at the time, you couldn't upload and schedule images with Hootsuite.
Oh, really?
As I understand, you can do now.
Yeah,
you couldn't do that back then. In Postcron, you could, so we moved over.
Yeah.
A couple of times we floated back and forth, but Sprout, you can't bulk upload a CSV sheet, which blows my mind. Their reporting's great, but
I think the issue with these auto schedulers though is they're great. However, they take away. I think a lot of people see them and go, right, spend 2 hours on a Sunday or a Monday. Some people don't work Sundays.
Some people don't.
But they'll spend 2 hours to schedule a whole week's worth of posts and stuff, and then they'll be like, right, that's it.
That's what my social does.
And it's like, well, no, because you've got engagement. You actually have to engage with your fans. You have to speak to them. You have to listen to what they're saying and respond and react to that, which I find fascinating that marketers will turn around and say, well, yeah, my social takes me 2 hours. I'm like, no.
It should. The point is it shouldn't do, and a lot of the time, I think people are just trying to find shortcuts.
Yeah.
And some of the time, those shortcuts are really, really clever, like opt-in forms and stuff. I think that's really clever. That's a really clever shortcut to be able to collect someone's email address and move them through a process. But at the same time, an autoresponder is never going to do all of your emailing.
Yeah.
So why would you assume that Hootsuite's going to do all of your social media?
Yeah.
And it's because people want to find shortcuts and they go, well, I don't
They want the quick fix.
Absolutely.
It's that pill. It's that.
Yeah.
Press this button and everything will get done for you.
I'd way rather have one conversation a week, like an actual conversation, than just blasting out 100 tweets. Having said that, we do blast out about 100 tweets.
but you listen to what's being said. That's the thing.
We check once a day. 1 hour a day is dedicated just to communications. Where we'll go through our group, go through our feeds, emails, and try and spark dialogue.
I think that's key. And I know. I'm assuming that's not just you, and you have your team and stuff, and that help you with that. And that kind of brings me on to my next tool, which is something that I've only just started using this last week, but Workplace by Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Their new team management system. I kind of guess that's what you call it.
Yeah, it's weird because I know the guy I know Mark Zuckerberg, P&I type. Yeah, no, a friend of mine, he's been working on that at Facebook. That's what his project's been for the last year. Hey Tom, if you're watching. And it's been fascinating watching that come about because
we literally moved like that from Slack to Workplace.
Slack.
It's like,
how you find it?
It's very good, and because I think the key part of it, and I think what most people are going to like, is it's so intuitive from using the Facebook platform.
Yeah.
The only difference is that instead of it being blue, it's like black.
That's cool.
So
I need to check it out, right?
it's really, you've got Messenger like you normally do. You've got groups, and you just type as if you're doing a normal post.
You type.
Revolutionary. Well, you can do live videos as well. So if you want to do like an announcement to your team or something, you just get everyone on a live video. I mean, we haven't tested the capabilities of it massively, but like I said, we've moved our entire team from Slack to Workplace within using it for a week. So, you know, that I think is probably going to be up there, especially from a productivity standpoint. It's got to be one of the top ways.
It's interesting as well, because part of the big problem, the reason I chose tools for this topic, and the reason you and I were like, well, let's just do tools, right? Because it's easy to talk about, because everyone loves a shiny new object, everyone loves a new shiny thing. And the part of the problem is, I think a lot of the time, we'll do this, and some people are going to email me, and I know who you are as well, and you're going to say, why the fuck would you use that, or why would you use this?
Yeah.
And it's exactly as you said, it has to come down to how you work. Because we tried Slack, and this brings me on to my fourth one, we tried Slack, and we use it for a couple of clients, but they've got enough of a team where we're in their team, as opposed to us managing their team. Like, we're in their team, so they use whatever they want, that's fine. But we use Quip.
Yeah.
So Quip is where we put all our documents, we put all our videos, all of our chat goes in there as well. It's where we talk to each other, it's where we schedule meetings, it's where we like assign people project management tasks as well. We love Quip. But for whatever reason, we just couldn't get on board with Slack. And I use it every day with 2 or 3 of my bigger customers.
Yeah.
Our business just couldn't get on it. So I'm excited to try Workplace. But
I think for a client-based business, like you say, because when you're involved with someone else's team, you kind of end up having to fit to their...
Yeah, you do.
Especially if it's a bigger team. Like if you're doing consulting or something, then it's a little bit different because you usually only deal with one person.
Yeah.
But if you're, you know, managing many people within a team, then I think, you know, you kind of have to go with what they say. You can recommend your option, but they might not get on with it.
For example, one of my clients is a huge racist, so I now have to pretend to be racist. All the time. I'm going to try and fit in. It's really tough. But no, I did go EV, and you also kind of have to play it carefully because you can't go in and go, oh, you shouldn't be using this.
Yeah.
Or we've been using it for 18 months or 2 years.
Yeah, we love it. And as soon as you say that, you're instantly putting a wall between you and them. And then the next thing that you recommend or suggest is instantly going to come up against some form of issue just because of that.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
But what other tools do I use daily? Daily tools. Google Docs.
Yeah, Google Docs is a good one.
I mean, it's Google Drive, let's say.
Yeah.
It's pretty well. If you haven't used Google Drive, I would be very shocked.
Google is this big company that are really going to take off at some point.
Yeah.
People should keep an eye on them.
If you have more stocks already, get in early.
Get in early. Yeah, get in early.
Yeah, I mean, Google Drive, I find it really good for, I don't know, you do a lot of writing. I don't do as much writing as I should, but when I do, it's in Google Docs. I've chosen Google Docs over Evernote because I just find it way easier to use. You've got sheets, you do slides, so I do a lot of webinars, so I create them in Google Slides. You get templates for that from Graphic River, which is always good. So yeah, I think Google Docs should definitely be in the top 5. That I don't want to say must use, but top 5 that I use personally every day.
One of the things for me of whether a tool is worth continuing with is how quickly your team can adopt to it.
Yeah.
We found that Google Docs, the whole concept of collaborative working had been out since about 1985 with Xerox, right? They had this protocol called X1.
Right.
Way back in the day, collaborative working. And no one had done it properly until Google Docs said, we're just going to do it for free, and it's going to be part of Google Drive. And even then, Google Drive is like, it's something like $10 for a terabyte of space. It's something ludicrously low. It's insanely low, like just for the storage and stuff.
It's crazy. I've got. It's kind of stupid, really, because I pay for iCloud, I pay for Dropbox, I pay for Google Drive, and it's just like, do I really need all of these? And then I have a hard copy of everything.
Exactly. Yeah, you've got a copy of it on your hard
So
drive.
it's like,
yeah, that's a good one. I think Canva for me has been really, really useful because we've got the pro version. And we can set up, again, templates for our team to go in and they can use with it. In terms of giving you the stuff that it's like Photoshop is this wonderful application, but realistically, you only use about 5% of its capabilities.
Oh, of course. If you're not a photographer,
and it's the same with
designer, or
Illustrator and InDesign. You only really use unless you're a professional, you use such a slim portion. As Canva went, well, let's do those things really, really well.
Yeah. The only issue I have with Canva, not issue, that's not the right word, but what I don't get is you pay for Canva work, and then you still have to pay for
assets.
Yeah.
In the library.
In the library. I got so there's a similar one called Get Stencil.
Yes.
So I managed to get, or I got that when AppSumo did a promotion on it. So I got like a complete for work or whatever it is, for whatever they promoted for, $40 or something. And I find I use both, and the reason being is I like the capabilities and the pictures and all the stuff that's within Get Stencil, but they don't have the number of fonts so I use the fonts in Canva, and then I use everything else in Get Stencil. So it's probably a long process, because I use Photoshop and Illustrator as well.
Oh my god.
But it's like, I don't know, I just find it, Get Stencil, I just like it more. It's weird.
What I really want, what I'm desperate for, is a Zap or some kind of API integration where I can take a blog post title and its featured image and pump that through to Canva.
And it just produce
a social post.
That
to me, I'd be like, that's done. Like if you're out there and you're a developer and you can do that.
Yeah.
The fact that Canva hasn't got any APIs, but I'm sure at some point it will do.
Yeah.
I suppose it comes down to again like what works for you and stuff like this. But in terms of again just being able to make it easy for people to be able to get consistent results, because that was part of our problem, is that we would hire a VA and one of them would do it in Photoshop, one of them would do it in Illustrator, one of them would do it with GIMP, and it's just like,
GIMP.
You never heard of GIMP? You've never heard of GIMP? Google GIMP. Just go on Google, remove the save filter, and just Google GIMP. So GIMP is free image processor. It's like Photoshop for free.
Oh, okay.
I can't believe you're like king of free stuff.
No.
GIMP. Yeah, so it's basically all the capabilities of Photoshop.
Okay.
And it was specifically, I believe,
I've got Photoshop, so that's probably why I haven't searched it.
It was originally designed for Linux, I think.
Okay.
But now there's all Windows version. GIMP's brilliant. GIMP's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Canva, I think is. But they're representative of a new type of app. You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of the phone apps now, especially for like Instagram. So a couple of guys that I work with, they'll use, I don't even know what they're called, but there's loads of like layouts.
There's tons.
And Lumber, I think, is one of them that allows you to create like moving pictures, which now you can upload to Facebook as if like a profile picture and stuff.
That's quite cool.
But there's loads of these tools, and I guess it's a case of what they're doing now is trying to reduce the time input to create these things.
Yeah.
Obviously, ideally you want to have a designer, because I mean I'm not the most design orientated person, and I can make something like I'm minimum viable product kind of person.
Yeah.
So I will get to minimum viable product,
Yeah, I've seen some
put it out. But I'll put it out, prove the concept, and then I'll pay someone to make it look good.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise, you don't want to spend, I don't know, let's say you spend $100, which is really good if you get an infographic for less than $100. But like if you spend $100 on a good infographic, looks great, you launch it, nobody wants to read it.
Yeah.
You're like, shit, I've just,
absolutely.
just wasted $100.
Yeah.
So you create the minimum viable product, get the response from, maybe you have a core group of people. Obviously, I know you've got like quite a tight email list, you've got a good group on Facebook, so you get the response from them, other marketers that you know, get their response, and then if it's good, then spend the money to go forward.
Yeah.
I'm kind of all about the shoestring kind of,
absolutely.
Get everything, if it's 60% there, you can launch it.
Yeah, launching imperfectly is better than never launching at all.
Yeah, and progress over perfection.
Yeah.
That's one of the key things. I've got that written on my desk.
It's
just like, get on with it.
Whose was that?
I have no idea.
That.
I've heard it.
It's good.
Quite a few people actually. I think it's a marketer thing. Might not be. If you know, let me know.
Let us know in the
Give
comments.
props there, yeah.
And we'll tag that person. Mate, it's been really good. We want to do more of these, yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm off for this.
And what we'll try and do is get a place that's even more echoey. We're thinking maybe a cave or inside a garage, maybe. But we'll try and.
But this should reduce because you can't see behind the cameras, but there's a building site behind it. And they're putting a wall in, so it will actually be a lot shorter. And hopefully, I mean, we don't know what the sound's going to be like. You might have only listened for 10 minutes and then
this is fucking up.
I can't hack this.
So if
I'm out.
you've made it to the end, well done.
Congrats.
Yeah, alright guys, we'll speak to you later.
Cheers. Sweet.
Man, that was awesome.